I'm here with Ryan of the Black Dahlia Murder to talk about their upcoming brand new record, Servitude, out September 27th on Metal Blade Records. First of all, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with this dude over here about some brand new music. How's things going with you?
Good, good. Can't complain. Been real busy, just got back from Europe here about a week and a half ago and just gearing up to go back right back out on tour here in about a little over a month.
And it's going to be a long one too. I was looking at some of the dates. You guys are playing in Toronto, so I'm looking forward to that. Last time the Black Dahlia Murder played in Toronto was at the Phoenix, and the place was packed. I don't think you could squeeze a needle in there. It was just jammed to the rafters. It was so packed. It was crazy. It was
Yeah,
hot
yeah.
too.
Yeah, very hot. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully it's that way again. Yeah, we love playing Toronto. It's great. So yeah, hopefully, it'll be packed and I mean, I think with the lineup, I think a lot of people are going to be coming out and ready to rage, ready to party and whatnot.
I agree with you on that. Does it when you come back into the fold and you see the support that fans, the love the fans have for the Black Dahlia Murder, does that surprise you in any way to see this kind of turnout?
I'll be honest, I think it surprised all of us in the band. I mean, like, we can only hope for the best after this sort of thing, but I'd probably say like 90 to 95% of everything has just been like super positive and I mean, honestly, we're just like eternally grateful. It's like all that we could ask for. So, are we surprised? Yes. Um, I mean, I know we have like great fans, and our fans are generally like very supportive. But yeah, it's been like overwhelming support. So
Well, when it came down to create Servitude, first of all, let me ask you this. The title of the record is really interesting. Where before we talk about the making of the album, let's talk just a little bit about the title of the album. Where the inspiration or where is the meaning behind, or what does it mean to you, a title like Servitude?
yeah, I've gotten this question quite a few times, and it's like I can't give you Brian's meaning. I can't answer for him, but I'll give you. But personally, for me, like that name has like it can have like negative connotations to it. But personally, for me, it's like it's us just trying to like serve the legacy of the band, serve our fans, try to give, just try to like basically create something for ourselves and for the fans that hopefully something that we can all enjoy and be, happy about after this just sort of like devastating uh set of events that's happened for us.
When you mentioned the word legacy of the band, my son and I, we talked quite a bunch on our channel about the band and in terms of what the future was going to hold for the band after
Mhm.
everything that happened. And we both had completely different opinions on, like, here we are talking about something that we have no control over, but you know how it is these days, everybody's got an opinion. So we had two very different, distinct opinions on what we thought the band should do.
Right.
Was there any point in time where there was a pause and a thought, or the idea was always there's a legacy, we need to continue to uphold that legacy, let's just move forward?
Yeah, I think when the time came for the band to make the decision to carry on, and this is even before I rejoined, but I think the one thing that the band could agree on, as well as I strongly agree on, is that uh to have someone completely new at this point come into the band, um with like no history with the band, um trying to get somebody, like, even if it was like a vocalist that sounded just like Trevor, uh, to write lyrics just like Trevor, it's like, it just feels like you're putting in like a fake version of Trevor. You're just trying to like, I don't know. I just don't think something like that would work for us or a majority of the fans. So when Brian, stated, when Brian was like, hey, I'll put the guitar down and, we can carry on and, and I'll carry on as the vocalist. That just seemed like very natural and like probably the most respectful way to go forward for us. I feel like no one really knows how Trevor performed better than Brian. It's been there since day one. So um, once that decision was made, we felt like, we've a lot of us have been in this band together for a long time. We've worked together for a long time, and we felt like we still wanted to make music together, and we felt like we could still create like some really great music together, and we all, still wanted to play shows and tour. So it's like, why not? But like I said, like we didn't take it lightly continuing on with, just, well, let's just get a new vocalist and continue on. No, it's just, I don't, it wouldn't have worked out like that.
I think it would have been I think it would have been very tough. I think this is a lot more in line with like that said legacy of the band, the approach that you guys took. And I think fans' response to the band going live and touring has showcased that you guys made the right choice and did the right thing, at least from a fan's standpoint. Now you coming back, so let's talk about something a little bit more happy, more cheerful.
Mhm.
So you're coming back into the fold, new record. How was it for you going into the studio with the guys and putting this album down?
You know, Pretty much I would say it's pretty like almost like a natural thing. This is my fifth record with the band. And I feel like everybody that's in the band, we've kind of just done this so many times that we kind of just get to work. We know what to do. Like everybody that's in the band, we know how to write a Black Dahlia song. It's not like I have to like sit here and I think like, all right, let me write the Black Dahlia. No, it's not like that at all. I kind of just get to it, you know. Um, but yeah, it's been like really I guess natural, we divided up the songs, Brian, myself, Brian and Brandon, we all just wrote like a third of the album. And it's kind of the way we've always functioned. Like when I was in the band prior, like Brian would write about half the record, I'd write about half. Whenever I left, him and Brandon did the same thing. Um, so yeah, just pretty natural and very just good to be back with the guys like in the studio.
Yeah, did your approach, because it's been some years detached from the process, and obviously not only as a musician but as an individual, we grow,
Mhm.
we evolve, we change. So did your approach when it comes to studio and recording in the studio, did that change as well?
Yeah, I would probably say like the biggest thing for me, um, yeah, because it's been like 6 years and I just like evolved since then. So like the songwriting process for me, um, is I just feel like I've just gotten, I mean, to put it in a nutshell, just better, like the more songs you write over time, it's like anything, it's like you put a lot of time and work into something, like you evolve and you get better. So like I felt like from the get-go, I was like, yeah, I'm excited about this because I feel like I just really have something to offer because it's been a while and I feel like, a more evolved musician now. And as far as like uh tracking and in the studio, like, we pretty much tracked all the guitars, bass, and vocals at Brandon's house. But the only thing we didn't, like when it came time to do all the leads, Brandon tracked all his at his house, and I tracked all mine at my house. Which nowadays I can't believe I used to let anyone track my leads in the past because it's just it's like such a personal thing. Like only your ears can hear what something is supposed to sound like when you're playing lead guitar. So that I guess that was kind of like a new thing where and I think it really was, yeah, that was like for the better as far as, all that is concerned. But yeah.
Yeah, when I was listening to the album, the first thing that jumped at me was I've always felt like the guitar sound on a Black Dahlia record is one of the cornerstones of the record. You could put the vocals and guitars as the two main probably cornerstones of any of the records. Doesn't matter where you go in the discography. So when I pressed play on this record, I was like, wow, the guitar sound was incredible. Super strong guitar sound. I love the melodies, the underlining melodies that still allows the heaviness to be at the top. I really like the fact that it felt to me a more technical sounding record. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not a technical death metal album, but it
Right.
sounds more technical to me. And then the solos, I was like, wow, I don't know where this came from, but
Right.
each solo almost deserved like a little bit like of a stop and pause and just let that solo sink in a little bit. So to me, it sounds like an album that took a massive amount of work on the guitar side, and you guys definitely brought some things that weren't there in the two previous records. Do you see it that as well?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I would agree with you. You know, like the guitar certainly is a very big cornerstone. It's like, you know, it's a very just important part of the Black Dahlia sound. And I'll say too, like this is like the first record where essentially, you know, you're hearing three guys that have all written Black Dahlia songs over the course of, you know, the past like, well, 10th record now, but like this is the first time where we're all on one record. So you're probably getting a pretty, you know, you're getting a spectrum of quite a few influences, you know, maybe even more so on this one than any other record. So yeah, I definitely think you know, like a challenge at this point in our, you know, career is that, you know, we're on the 10th record and you know, you want to keep your core sound, but you also want to keep little by little expanding on it, evolving it, you know. So that, and you know, that's definitely a challenge. And then I think, um you know, there's definitely like a track or two on the record where we definitely venture off into stuff like we haven't done before. Like the single Mammoth's Hand that's out right now. I feel like that's very different from the band. You know,
Hmm.
it's some we haven't done. The song Transcosmic Blueprint, that song definitely it's a little technical and there's definitely some stuff in that track, you know, that is like, you know, it's like stuff where it's like, oh wow, we're on a journey. We're on an
Yeah,
odyssey right now.
a little, almost like a little sprinkle of psychedelic feel,
Yeah.
like you guys were on acid or something when you wrote that song,
Yeah, yeah.
or at least little pieces of it.
Right. And it's like and those are like the sort of things where I think like it doesn't have to be at this point, you know, in the where we're at. Like it doesn't have to be massive things. Just like those little like sprinkles of like new little things like that intermixed in our core sound is like that's all it takes, I think, is like to just be like, oh wow, to like pique somebody's, you know, interest or their ear to be like, oh wow, what's going on here, you know?
Yeah, it was for me, it was like I was listening to the band. Like you could tell it's the band. It's not like you guys created a completely different DNA for your sound, but at the same time, I was discovering new little nuances that I hadn't really heard before, which made the songs still as brutal and heavy as they've always been, but at the same time, a little bit more rich and textured. And I think that this was a nice little switch for me.
Right, right, cool. Yeah, that's good to hear. And I think Ted Jensen that mastered this record too. I think he just did like really a phenomenal job because the record, yeah, it just sounds very like I don't think we overproduced it and we didn't like suck everything to the grid and like make everything like so plastic and perfect. But I think Ted's master is just it just really made I think it sounds really like high def to me. Yeah, so and it really makes it to where like if you just sit there and pay attention, like yeah, you may hear things you know, the second or third time through that you didn't hear the first time through.
Yeah, and that gives great playability to the record. I was wondering from your standpoint, we know as fans, as listeners of the band, what you can bring to the table and what you can add on to the whole package. Is there something that the band gives back to you that you feel that it makes you a better guitar player?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like when you know, when you're in a band like this, I mean, it really is, you know, it's like a team effort. So it's like when you look around and, you know, everybody else is like doing, you know, working their hardest and doing their part and like learning. I mean, some of these songs are like super challenging. And so, you know, we're sitting here like we're having to learn these things, we're having to play these songs. And then like personally for me, you know, as a guitar player, having another guitar player like Brandon, who's like having a guy like that who's also just he's super high level guitar player. And I've known Brandon for a while and I already knew it's funny, like I already knew what Brandon was capable of, and I feel like when I introduced him to the band, like I feel like the band, I was like, I don't think you guys understand what I'm giving you right now, but you will, you know, you will.
It was a
But you
Yoda
know,
moment.
yeah, yeah. But like yeah, playing alongside somebody like Brandon too is like always great. It makes you want to play better and it makes you like stay on top of your game and you know just really just all of it though like being around guys like this like Brian's incredibly driven person like he's just one of those people like I mean, man, the guy's just got massive balls. What can I say? It's just like, fuck it. I'm gonna put down my guitar. I'll step into this role. I'll figure out how to be the front man. I'll, do the vocals in the album. I'll write the lyrics. It's just like it's inspiring.
So basically what you're saying is those people that have those bronze balls on the back of their pickup trucks, those were modeled after Brian's.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I
Just
just want to make sure that was clear
that
for
that
everybody.
that is exactly what I'm saying.
And you know what? Like I saw Brian, I saw the band play here in Toronto, like I said, at the Phoenix. And one thing at that time, you guys were doing songs that obviously he wasn't the singer for them. He was just the singer at that time. So I
Hmm.
was really interested to see how he would develop in this record as his record, as like his debut vocal performance record. I love his storytelling approach to his vocal performance. And I thought you guys created the perfect sound to allow him to do his thing perfectly. How much of his own style and his own approach affected you guys as songwriters?
Um, I think like in this band, I think one trait that maybe, we're all like, we're all like pretty different songwriters, I would say. But I would say like the one trait that me, Brian, and Brandon all share to a degree is that we all write, we don't just write random riffs. Like we really write like songs like we think of song structures pretty similarly. Just like, we think in the terms of like classic song structure, like, intros, verses, choruses, bridges, just like songs you hear on the radio. Since we think of songs that way, like not we don't think of them as just like random parts, strung together. So I think in that regard, um, and especially as Brian being a guitar player, I think that like a lot of times whenever I'm writing a song, Brian already knows what the parts are. Like he can listen to it and know immediately, like, oh yeah, that's the verse. This is the pre-chorus. This is the chorus. He already knows. So like in that regard, I know that when he crafts his lyrics over it, he already knows what to do. He knows what the pre-chorus sounds like. He knows what the chorus is supposed to do. So in that regard, yeah, he's it's it comes really naturally, I think, for him to write lyrics because he's coming from it as a guitar player and a songwriter, which helps immensely. Um,
Yeah, I thought his delivery was so cool. Like the way he enunciates the certain keywords, the pauses, he's creating vocal ebbs and flows as he's singing, which makes the songs feel even more fluid and more dynamic. Like he's enhancing the momentum that you guys are creating with the sound, with the way he's delivering. I thought it was captivating. Like there's
yeah,
not many guys that have that sort of delivery. I can think of maybe two other guys that have a similar delivery. Dickey is one of those that really does that really well, and
right.
he nailed it. Like in terms of some of the lyrics on these songs, like man, he had me. Like it was not just about headbanging in the sound. Like I'm into the lyrics too. Like give me more of this shit.
Yeah. And like Brian is very much, I mean, of course, like I know that as far as the lyrics go, Black Dahlia is always a band. We tell stories, like when Trevor, read Trevor's lyrics, we deal with a lot of times it's like horror based, sci-fi based, sometimes fantasy based, sometimes it's about like perverse shit or just whatever, but it's usually some kind of story. So I know that Brian, you wanted to keep that true to the band, so like now you have Brian like telling writing his own stories, his own like subject matter that he sees fit. And even sometimes, and like Brian would tell you, right? Brian's not Trevor. He's not trying to sound like Trevor. Although sometimes I think on the record he does sound pretty similar to Trevor. But he's also doing his own thing, and he's going to evolve just like Trevor did over 9 albums. You're going to see
Hmm.
him evolve. So that's pretty exciting to see too, like where he'll evolve even from here. But yeah, I think he killed it. I think he did a great job, and I think for anybody that hasn't heard the whole record yet, I think everybody's going to be pleasantly surprised.
And the other thing that I commented, I already recorded my review. I'll be posting it closer to the release date. But one of the things that I mentioned on my review is that I felt like you guys created the perfect length, 33 minutes. Like it's a short album, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. It doesn't take you around unnecessary loops. It's just kind of like outside of that interlude that breaks the album into two. Outside of that, it's pretty much pedal to the metal, and I really like that approach. It almost has more of a hardcore approach in terms of the album design.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think for the style of music we play and how there's a lot of stuff going on at times, there's a lot of snare hits. Sometimes there's a lot of notes. Um, I just think for the style of music we play, anywhere from like 33 minutes to about 40 minutes is really kind of perfect, you know. It's just like, we could write a longer album, but I feel like once you kind of start for at least our genre of music and kind of how we do it, I feel like once you get past the 40-minute mark, even if the songs are cool, maybe your people's attention starts waning, your ears start getting tired. So yeah, I would agree with you. I think like 33 to 40 minutes, perfect.
Yeah, I think it's the final nail on that coffin because it really sets up the album for success. Because you guys created the right songs, right vocal approach. Then the length of the album to me was really important because you want to make sure that at the end of the listening experience, you want to go back and listen to it again. Not, you know what, I got to put it down because, man, it was like 45 minutes. I want to kind of listen to something else right now.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, 33 minutes. That's like enough time for you to I don't know, get in
Drive
your car.
somewhere.
Yeah, drive somewhere, go to McDonald's, get you a little McChicken or something, whatever. Drink a coffee, go to the post office, come back home, you're done. And that was
Yeah,
that was it.
it's at least for me, it's like my right to work. So I could listen to the actual full album on one way and then I listen to the full album on another way
Yeah, yeah.
versus like, you know what ended up happening is you listen to the album, you get to whatever you're going, there's four songs left, but then when you come back, you press play again and you start all over, and the last final songs of the record don't get the same love and attention
Right.
than the upper part of the album.
That's a good point too. That's a very good point. What I think, well, one decision that we made, there's the acoustic intermission kind of track that's right there in the middle. I suggested, I wrote that part, and originally, it's attached to the song, asserting dominion that comes after it. But it was originally attached, but I was like, you know what? Let's detach them just because some people, it's like I don't want people to skip the song because they don't feel like hearing the intro, you know.
Mhm.
So I was like, what if we just cut those two so that if somebody doesn't necessarily want to listen to the intro, they can just hit skip right quick and we'll go straight to the song. So and that's another reason of just streamlining things and
I agree
because
with you
yeah,
on that 100%. I not that long ago I was listening to an album and a band that had every song had these massive 2 minute to 3 minute atmospheric instrumental intros. And I said to the guys in the band that, me personally, I would have made all of those separated songs from the actual song. Because if you listen to the record at home, you're going to listen to it in sequence anyways. You're going to get the whole package. But if you're streaming it on a streaming platform, and you're hit with like 2 minutes of an instrumental track before your song gets started, people are going to skip it. So
right, right.
I think you need to be conscious of how people these days consume music and kind of create the album in a format that works in an album format, but it works in a single format as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I realize that the attention span nowadays. Yeah, because there's just so much of everything. Like everything is available just, like that. So yeah, it's like I mean it kind of sucks, but it's like, yeah, you kind of gotta get to the point or you gotta or at least try to. I mean, it's good that a lot of times if you're an established band, your core fan base will probably listen. They'll probably listen to all the songs, which that's great. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, unfortunately, yeah, you do kind of have to think like that nowadays.
Yeah, you gotta think about those little details that in the past perhaps weren't even there. We mentioned the upcoming North American tour, so I know this is a tough question for you, but do you have a favorite place to play at? Is there a city that you always mark down on your calendar because you have a great time or you've had some great experiences?
Um,
Besides Toronto, obviously. I mean, we're the center of the universe, so we all know that Toronto is a great.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Toronto really always is a great time though. I mean, as far as Canada's in Canada, it's like, yeah, we always have a great time in Toronto. We usually have a great time in Montreal. Um, Great time in Vancouver. That always comes up to me. But I don't know. There's a lot. Chicago's always good. I feel like, I mean, Detroit's great because it's our hometown, but I feel like Chicago's almost like a second home show for us. LA is always great. I feel like any almost like Portland's great. I feel like almost like any city can be great sometimes. There's certain cities that are like always great, pretty much for the most part. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really think there's just one. I think they're all
Great in their own way.
kind of great in their own way. Yeah,
Yeah. And
maybe. Yeah,
so I was just going to ask you, what do you do? Because a lot of fans don't realize this, but before you guys hit the stage at the end of the night, there's a lot of sitting around. There's a lot of doing absolutely nothing. You know what I
yep,
mean? From the time you guys load in to sound check and whatever, there's just a lot of that time. Do you have any routines to keep your mind sane? Do you play some video games? Like, what do you do for fun?
yeah. Um, Usually what I do is or not, 'cause sometimes it depends on what kind of tour it is. But on a U.S. tour, like we're talking about right now, usually like I'll try to get up at like 9 or 10 a.m. Um, you know, usually first thing I do is like I just get coffee. Either I'll make it on the bus or I'll go. There's a coffee shop nearby, and then usually we're usually kind of in some kind of city where you can walk. So I'll just walk around for a while, like for 30 minutes, an hour, however long. And then usually we'll sound check around 11 or 12, maybe even 1. Then you eat like normal people do. And then usually what I do is around 3 o'clock, 3 or 4 o'clock, I'll take a nap. Because like, if you're not playing till 9 or 10, maybe even later, almost 11 o'clock at night, I mean, just staying awake all day, it's just by the time, if you don't take a nap, by the time it gets to that point and you need to be energized, it can just be, you can be feeling kind of tired. So generally I try to take at least like an hour nap, you know?
Wow, a little afternoon power nap.
Yeah. Yeah. So usually around 3 o'clock. And then I'm usually back up again by like, I don't know. Well, it depends. 5, 6. And then I'll just like sit there, you know, eat dinner, um, read a book, play video games, watch TV, maybe watch some baseball or sports, whatever is on.
Are you a big baseball fan?
I like baseball. That's kind of like the sport that I like the most. Yeah.
Who's your favorite team?
Atlanta Braves. I'm a Georgia native, so
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
Atlanta Braves, and then I guess by default, I'm kind of like a Tigers fan as well. I went to the game the other night, but I'm
I'm a big
less.
baseball fan as well, actually. I'm a Blue Jays fan.
Oh yeah,
So Atlanta and the Blue Jays, they've had a few runs at it. So
yeah,
yeah, it's a
that's great.
very interesting game. I think it's the only game where it's a team game, but most of the game is played at an individual level.
Right, exactly. I would agree with you on that. I'm really glad that we have the pitch clock now. I think that's helped speed things along a little bit.
Yeah.
I can totally understand why like a lot of people can't get into baseball, especially nowadays, because no one has an attention span nowadays. But at the same time, like I don't know, I just love baseball. I used to play baseball, as a kid, and everything. So it probably comes from that, but I'm just very partial to it.
I remember going playing baseball with friends of mine and me taking on the mound as much time as some of the pitchers like walking like you just emulate what you see and it's like you
Right.
don't even realize that you're like doing all the same like little routines that they do and stuff like that. It's just I just find the game super interesting, that duel between pitchers and hitters. Like I said, it's a team sport, but at that moment it's really an individual game between those two. And it's such, to me, it's almost like chess.
Yeah.
You're playing chess, but you're playing chess by throwing a ball like a millimeter here, a millimeter there, trying to trick the other guy. Like there's these mind games that are happening during that moment. And to me, that's super intriguing, and I absolutely love that shit.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And yeah, so yeah, it's like, watch baseball, sports, or really, like there's enough downtime to like, if you have other interests or hobbies, like to just read or read up and things, and just depends. Like I nowadays, now getting a little bit older, I just try to a lot of times I'll try to make the most of my time. So like if I have interest about something, I'll try to read more, but just whatever. Or you can play guitar. Like I play guitar a lot on the downtime, so but yeah, that's the thing. It's like people don't understand like actually how boring tour is a lot of times. Like it's a lot less interesting than people perceive it to be.
Yeah, I think folks don't, they have this glamour idea of what the life on the road is, not realizing that there's no shitting on the bus and all sorts of other things that go on. So they have this fantasy world of like of what touring is. I remember taking my wife to see Halloween and Hammerfall and then meeting the guys backstage at their tour bus. And as we were leaving, my wife was like, "Wow, there was no strippers or drugs." And I was like, "This is not Aerosmith and or Motley
Yeah.
Crue back in the 80s. Like
Yeah,
life is
right, right.
completely different.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reality of it. I mean, like, especially as bands get like older. I mean, we're not like a young band anymore. I mean, like most of us are in our early 40s at this point. And it's just like I don't know. It's all that stuff. I don't know. It just gets it's just kind of like it just gets tiring. So yeah, it's just yeah, I don't know. It's a lot more boring than yeah people perceive it to be.
It's a lot more.
But yeah, I mean like a lot of times in the States though, it's like, a lot of times you're parked in like a city, so you can walk around. There's things to do.
Well, if you guys ever have a day off in Toronto and you want to catch a baseball game, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to take you to a baseball game. I think it would be a blast.
Awesome.
Maybe not an Atlanta Braves, Toronto Blue Jays. Maybe that's a little bit too close to home.
Yeah, yeah. Right, right, right.
Maybe like some neutral team that you don't have any affinity for, maybe like the Colorado Rockies or something.
Yeah.
But let me know. Ryan, this was an absolute pleasure to talk to you about the record. I'm definitely marking on my calendar the date you guys are coming to Toronto. I'll see you guys at the Toronto show. Thank you very much for your time today.
Yes, yes. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Take care, man. All the best.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.